So I've been doing a bit of ChromeOS related content recently, and you guys have been really wanting me to take a look at FydeOS, which is a fork of ChromiumOS that's designed to run on non-Chromebook hardware, much like Google's official ChromeOS Flex. But this operating system differs in that it isn't reliant on Google services. In fact, you don't even need a Google account to use it. It also lets you run both Linux and Android applications, and they even have their own hardware to install it on. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So I gotta give a huge thank you to Fyde for sending me the Fydetab Duo to check out in this video. And the best way I can describe this thing is it's kind of like the Chromebook Pixel for FydeOS, because you can download and install this operating system for completely free on pretty much any computer that meets the minimum hardware requirements. But the Fydetab Duo provides you with premium flagship hardware that is specifically built to run FydeOS, though you could install another operating system on this if you wanted to. So this video is going to be split up into two parts. First, we're going to unbox the Fydetab Duo. I'll give you my first impressions because, as you can see, this thing is still factory sealed. So we'll check it out, we'll see what comes inside, then we'll shift to talking about FydeOS and demo it running on here. And just to be fully transparent, they are not sponsoring this video. They're not paying me whatsoever. They're not even letting me keep this thing, actually. I do have to send it back to them once I publish this video. But this was kind of like a stars had aligned situation because, like I mentioned, I was getting a lot of requests to do a video on FydeOS, and these guys just so happened to reach out not too long ago and said, hey, do you want to check out our tablet? So let's check out this tablet. Now, right off the bat, I am getting a very Apple vibe from this packaging, and I hate to always make that comparison, but it just kind of goes without saying the way this is put together and the way this product image is presented on here. It just kind of feels like I'm unboxing an Apple product. Until you read the slogan here that says this is an open source and hackable Linux tablet powered by FydeOS. Because this tablet is very hobbyist and developer friendly because they've got the hardware schematics online, they have a guide that shows you how to mod it with an LTE chip, and they have various tutorials for installing other operating systems. But that being said, this is a consumer product, so you can totally use it just the way that it is. And if you decided to pick this up, it's going to cost you £549, which currently is about $733 US. So I certainly don't blame these guys for wanting me to send this back to them once I'm done with this video. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and finally just tear the film here to open this thing up and see what it has to offer. There's all of that ripped off, and let's go ahead and have this thing slowly slide out of the box here. So there it is. We've got a little pull tab up here at the top, so we're just gonna lift this thing up, and yeah, it's got a pretty good weight to it. And it describes itself down here on the bottom as a 2-in-1 tablet computer because it does have a connection for a keyboard case, which we actually, from my understanding, have in this box, which is pretty nice that they include that for you. So we'll set the tablet aside for now and see what else that we're working with here. So got to remove that little piece, and we have another pull tab, and this definitely feels like the keyboard case. So we'll set that aside just for a brief moment. We also have a stylus if you want to, use the tablet that way. We've got a little card here that, what is this? Oh, okay, we got a few things here. We have a SIM tool for adding a SIM card, because the way that this works, like I mentioned, oh, and we got a sticker, is that what that is? Dang, okay, yeah, sweet. We got a few stickers, holy cow. So OpenFyde is the open source version of FydeOS, basically, because FydeOS does, from my understanding, have some like proprietary stuff added to it. So right here we have, this just, I guess, tells you how to set the thing up or the various ways you can use it. And yes, there is a SIM tool in here, and there is a SIM card slot on the side of the tablet, but like I mentioned, there's no LTE module. The reason why there's not one is purely because of regulatory concerns. So to avoid having to jump through all those hoops, they just give you the option of installing the module yourself, and like I mentioned, they have a guide on the website that walks you through that process, which definitely is not the greatest thing from a consumer ease of use standpoint. But from what I've been reading about this tablet, I really think this thing is meant for those people, I don't know why I'm picking this up, This is really meant for those people who are not really afraid of taking something apart. They're more computer savvy. You know, they want to actually read through a schematic and see how this thing's put together and, you know, install another operating system on it and mess around with it and tinker with it. If you want just an easy to use tablet, you should just buy an iPad or a more mainstream Android offering. Also inside the box, you already saw a little bit of the stylus. We'll come back to that. And we have your typical boring stuff like a charging brick and your, what is this, USB-C, yeah, charging cable. So we'll set all that aside. We also have a single AAA battery, which I'm guessing is for the keyboard case. We'll just take a look at that in a moment. But let me see if there's anything else in here. I do not think there is, and that looks like there's, yeah, some glue there on the bottom that has apparently started to loosen up a little bit. So we'll set that aside, and we will return to the keyboard case here, which it looks like it just opens up from the side. So we'll get this out. And this is the red one, which I believe currently is the only color that they offer. And yeah, this feels pretty nice, I gotta say. It's got a nice texture to it. So that right there is the, you know, connector, the magnetic thing that, you know, attaches to the bottom. And then, oh, is this two separate, like this might go on the top or something. Well, we'll have to take a look at the tablet here and just kind of see how this goes together. But this, I think this is the stand maybe? Let's just go ahead and grab the tablet here and we'll get this protective covering off of it. Slide it on out. So yeah, here is the tablet itself. And we'll just go ahead and see if we can connect the keyboard cover right to the bottom like that. And then it just closes up like so. And so I'm guessing this right here has to be for the back, maybe? Does it just attach magnetically? I think it does. Or maybe it does. Let me take a look at the manual to make sure I'm doing this right. Alright, well here's a little bit of a discovery. This right here is the only piece of paper that comes with the Fydetab Duo, so there is no physical manual, but I was able to figure out how this works, and if I can figure it out, you certainly can. You just have to make sure that you're putting it on the right way. So when you do that, it will make a very sturdy, satisfying feeling connection to the tablet, and I can pick this up like from the corners here of just this back part, and you can see it lifts the whole tablet up with it. So it is definitely secure to that. But this, the reason why you got that metal bar in there is because this is on a hinge, so you can adjust the stand here and, you know, put it in whatever orientation or I guess angle you want, and then you can lift up the tablets like so, and you can get to using it. And then the keyboard here does have the thing where you can kind of pop it out like that, and you can use it with the keyboard flat on the desk or angled up towards you like so. Oh, and by the way, this AAA battery here, it's actually for the stylus. That makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? So you just have to unscrew this back portion here from the rest of it, and then you can pop that battery in, and you'll be able to, you know, use this thing with the tablet. There's also this little holder here, that little sleeve that it goes into. So we are going to boot up the tablet in a moment here. However, before we do that, I want to tell you a little bit about today's video sponsor, Surfshark, the VPN that does a lot more than a VPN usually does. It runs on practically all of your devices, even if they run FydeOS, and supports unlimited simultaneous connections, which is just one of the ways that they go above and beyond when compared to some of those other providers. They've also got extra stuff bundled in, like an antivirus program for keeping your devices free of malware, and their alternative ID feature for creating proxy email addresses for those times when you don't want to give out your real one. Oh, and then there's the VPN itself, which connects to one of Surfshark's 3,200 servers hosted in 100 countries to hide your IP address from those shady websites or get around those pesky region lock pop-ups. They also don't keep logs, so your browsing history is kept private, and they support advanced features like multi-hop and split tunneling. All of their plans come backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, and if you sign up at surfshark.com/michaelmjd, you'll get 4 extra months for free with the purchase of a year or 2-year plan. So be sure to check them out, and huge thanks again to Surfshark for making this video possible. Okay, but really before we do that, I want to show you the FydeOS website and talk a little bit more about the operating system specifically. So there's actually 4 versions of FydeOS to choose from when you go to the download page. You've got FydeOS for PC, which is the one that you're probably going to want to check out if you want to install FydeOS on a regular PC. And you've got separate downloads in here depending on what CPU that you have. If you're doing this in a virtual machine, FydeOS for VMware is a pre-configured image that you can download and just get up and running in no time. That's actually what I did to kind of explore this operating system a little bit off camera. FydeOS for SBC is made for single board computers. That's what SBC stands for. So you've got like the Raspberry Pi in here and a couple other single board computers. And so yeah, you can get this running on the Raspberry Pi 5, which is pretty neat. And that brings us to FydeOS for You, which is the version that we'll be taking a look at today, because this comes on the Fydetab Duo, because this is a customized version of FydeOS made specifically for certain pieces of hardware. So you've got the Fydetab Duo in here, but you also have various Microsoft Surface devices and even some end-of-life devices like the Chromebook Pixel. So I could totally install this on my Chromebook Pixel if I wanted to by getting this image, and this is like a custom release tailored specifically for this piece of hardware. However, FydeOS for You is the only one of these 4 versions that actually costs money in the form of an annual subscription. And if we go to the pricing page, you can see more about that. They give you a 90-day free trial, and then they charge you $20 a year afterwards. And that is mainly so that your device can continue getting updates and have that more tailored experience specifically for it. And you also apparently get access to a dedicated support team. If you ever have an issue, you can submit a support ticket to them, and I guess they respond within 1 business day, which is pretty good. Now, they also have FydeOS Enterprise. This is a whole separate thing with its own set of pricing tiers. We're not really going to touch on that today because we're mainly focusing on the consumer side of things. Another thing you may notice is that under FydeOS for PC/SBC, it says free-ish, and that's because if you scroll down here to the over-the-air updates, you do get them, but there's this little marker next to it, and if we click that, it takes us down here, and it says complimentary for maintenance updates within a milestone version, optionally chargeable at $3.19 for major updates across milestone versions. So just to give you an example of this, the latest version of FydeOS for Intel Modern is 20.0. When they release version 20.0.1, you're going to get that version for free. But when they release version 21, that you're going to have to pay for if you want to download it from the device currently running FydeOS. You'll have to pay $3.19 to get that update. However, since the download from the website is free, there's absolutely nothing stopping you from just going to here when that next version comes out, downloading it and reinstalling it on your FydeOS device. Of course, it's going to require a whole reinstall, but they even tell you on the update options page here under FAQ that you can totally do that and there's nothing stopping you. You're just sort of paying them for the extra convenience of getting the major update from your device and just doing the whole update from there. So it kind of feels like you're tipping them. Now, it is a downside when you compare FydeOS to regular ChromeOS, because as long as you're using a device that Google is currently supporting, you're going to get updates for as long as they support that device for free. But yeah, that is the pricing model that they've implemented, and like I said, we are going to be checking out FydeOS for You today, and I'm curious to see what kind of tailored experience we get with running it on the Fydetab Duo. And here we are. So this is what you see when you first boot up not just the Fydetab Duo, but FydeOS. It's going to be very similar to ChromeOS in that you've got to choose your layout and keyboard and go through all these initial setup prompts. And I think throughout this video, I'm going to kind of switch between using the touchscreen, the keyboard and trackpad, as well as the stylus pen. I definitely want to open up like a drawing application, or if there's not one that comes on here, just download something and kind of mess around with this and see how well it works. It looks like we've got some buttons on here that I imagine are going to be like clicking. You might be able to do like a hover thing, so let me kind of hover over the OK button. Okay, well, maybe not. I guess I have to just press OK there. Oh, and this is version 18. I think we're actually a couple releases behind. Yeah, I just double-checked. Version 20.0 is the latest release for the Fydetab Duo here, so we're going to have to do a system update. And we'll see if it lets us do that from here, within that 90-day trial period that we should get. And interestingly enough, I am moving my finger on the trackpad right now, and I'm not seeing a mouse cursor. So maybe because we touch the screen with this, it's kind of defaulting to using that for the setup process, but I feel like it should show the mouse cursor when we move around on the trackpad. And this keyboard, let me just make sure the keyboard's working. Let me press, like, let's see here. We'll press the lock button. And yeah, that is totally working. So the keyboard, I assume anyways, is connected. So I guess we'll have to go into settings here and kind of see what that is about. But we'll press getting started, and we're going to connect this to our Wi-Fi network. And here we get to one of the first things that separates FydeOS from regular ChromeOS, and that is the ability to use it without a Google account. So you have the choice between using a FydeOS account. You could sign in with a Google account if you want to, or you could use a local account and not sign into anything at all, which is what we're going to be doing for this video. And this is one of those features that we get since we're running FydeOS for you on an officially supported device. It recognizes that we have a fingerprint reader up here, and we could, use that with my fingerprint to sign in if I wanted to. And I guess now it's going to go into talking about some gestures that we can use to go home, switch to another app, or go back. So we'll say get started. And so go home, you can swipe up from the bottom of the screen to just go back to the home screen. So that's cool. We can switch to another app by swiping up and holding. So that's nice. We get to like a little app switcher, and then you can go back by swiping from the left side of the screen. So that's good to know. And right here, we've got, which is something we're going to check out in a moment, activate the Android Subsystem. Now, to be clear, ChromeOS does support the running of Android applications, but it's not something that is universal. It's only available on select Chromebook models, and ChromeOS Flex doesn't support it at all, at least yet. I'm sure that they're going to support it at some point on that, but with FydeOS here, we get that functionality right out of the box. So we'll go ahead and check that out in a moment, so we'll just kind of slide that away. And let me see if we've got we still do not have the... Yeah, that's interesting. I'm going to go into settings right now and see if we can like enable the cursor or something. And yeah, this is it right here. Tap to click, use touchpad and keyboard to right click. Nothing about the cursor, which is kind of interesting. I don't know why we're not getting that. I mean, again, the keyboard is working. I guess what I could do is, do a good old-fashioned restart and just see if that maybe fixes the problem for us and, figures out that we're in, the mode with this whole thing connected. And we also have an update to do as well, so we'll have to check that out in a moment. But, yeah, we go over here to power off, so we'll go down here, and we will restart. Yep, that's all it took. I'm guessing what happened is, because now that I think about it, I didn't have the keyboard case connected when I first powered this thing on to go through the setup process. I connected it after it was powered on, which you would think would just make it recognize. I mean, again, it recognized the keyboard, but I guess it just took a restart for the mouse cursor to actually want to show up on screen. But yeah, we're going to go into settings and immediately go through the updater because I want to make sure we're on the latest version. So, oh, and I guess it did update. Okay, so it said version 18 before. I guess it just automatically updated when it restarted or went through that initial setup process. But yeah, it is currently up to date. So we are running 20.0, and we do have the automatic updates enabled. Now, like I mentioned earlier, we do get a 90-day free trial of the FydeOS for You operating system, and then afterwards we have to pay $20 a year. I'm not seeing anything in here about that license information. I am kind of curious how that all works. I assume it's going to just prompt you when you get to that 90-day point. So there is an update available for the firmware, for the universal bootloader. I guess we'll go ahead and grab that. Yeah, I imagine when you get to the 90-day trial period, like once that is over, it will just prompt you and be like, hey, you have to pay a yearly subscription to continue using this. I guess we'll just, at this point, go around the system a little bit and kind of explore what comes pre-installed. You might be wondering what this funky little looking icon down here is. That's actually Chromium. They just give it a different icon here. So this is, Chromium, of course. If you've used Chrome before, you'll know exactly how this works. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. But there it is. That's your browser. And going into the applications menu, of course, we're going to have your standard selection of ChromeOS stuff. So you got your browser we just opened up, you got your files application, a camera, because yes, we've got a front-facing camera there for joining all your video conferences or whatever that you want to do with it. So yeah, camera. If we go back in here, we've got your settings, you got your gallery, then you've got some FydeOS applications that of course don't normally come with a regular Chromebook. You've got FydeOS AI, you've got RDP for remote desktop, and you have the community forms that you can open up, and this brings up a little Chromium embedded framework window, and you can go here and, you know, ask some questions, see what people are talking about, that sort of thing. But we'll close out of that for now. And of course, one of the big things is we've got a store. Now, this is not the Google Play Store or the Chrome Web Store. This is the FydeOS App Store. So in here, you've got a few categories on the left side, made by FydeOS, of course, pretty self-explanatory. You've got the installer, you've got the remote desktop tool that we just saw, and then you have configure OpenG apps for the Android subsystem, which we'll come back to later. Then you've got an essential selection of various things. You've got the web apps section, which these are rather interesting because they just seem to be shortcuts to various websites. Like if I go into Airbnb here, there's just a link to open the app, and then it just opens up a page in Chromium here. So I'm not really sure why it's laid out this way. You can't, like, you know, like if I go to, I don't know, YouTube Music here, there's not an option to pin it to your bookmarks bar or add a shortcut to your desktop. They're all just links basically that take you to that respective website. So then you've got extensions, which, you know, a lot of these I imagine will come from the Chrome Web Store. You can just go to the Chrome Web Store too and download stuff from there and add it to Chrome. Nothing stopping you from doing that. But they've got, I guess, their own categories in here. And I mean, maybe this is just pulling directly from the Chrome Web Store, but, you know, just has a different interface and everything. But I feel like this is, you know, I feel like there should be a lot more in here. So this might just be kind of a curated selection of stuff. You've got themes as well to add to, you know, spice up your Chrome experience. And then we have Android apps down here. These just appear to be, I mean, let's see if we scroll down. Yeah, so this is definitely a curated selection of just a handful of Android applications that you can use with FydeOS. And I guess that's a great segue into talking about the Android subsystem. So if we go back to the applications menu, there is this Android button, and it will bring up a user agreement that we have to agree to. So we'll go ahead and do that and click on launch. And there we go. So I guess this is the Android settings application. So we should just be able to go into the FydeOS store and download an Android app. So maybe we'll get Skype. That's still in here? Gee, that's kind of surprising because Microsoft killed off Skype like, what, last week? You see it's downloading that APK from, it looks like Amazon AWS is where they're using to store this stuff. So yeah, this is definitely their own thing. They are just hosting all these APKs. Oh my gosh, it's bringing me to the sign-in prompt. I mean, this has to just tell you like, oh, Skype doesn't exist anymore. You can't, oh, did it just crash? I think it just crashed. That's hilarious. Okay, let me try that again, because now I'm curious. Can I sign in like with my old Skype account, which is just a Microsoft account now? Okay, it's doing. Oh, the whole system just kind of froze up. Okay, well, okay, now I got the mouse cursor back, but it was really lagging there for a second. What is going on? That's hilarious. Yeah, it literally it is really struggling for whatever reason. I don't quite know why, but I mean, like, I'm moving the, okay, well, of course now it's working, but I was just moving the cursor around earlier on the trackpad, and it was kind of not responding as quickly. But if I go up to this window here, I can't, like, move it around. I'm pressing the mouse button and dragging, and it's not moving at all. I can't even press the apps menu button on the keyboard right now. Can we lock this thing? I can't even lock the screen. Okay, well, maybe that's why Microsoft killed off Skype, because opening it up just causes your whole system to frickin' hang. I mean, jeez, okay. And we are not going to open our previous windows and apps, thank you very much. Do I want to open up, do I want to try and open up Skype again? I guess we can try. Okay, so now we get to the sign-in screen, so let me try to sign in. I imagine it's just going to be like, hey, you can't use Skype anymore, sorry, but it's kind of funny that it's still in the app list there, which, I mean, it's not really surprising. I'm guessing that the FydeOS team just hasn't like taken it off yet, because this has to be just an unusable application at this point. Oh yeah, there it is. Thank you for being part of Skype. Skype retired in May 2025. You can use Microsoft Teams. Yeah, no thanks. Okay, well, as of right now, it seems the only way that we can get Android apps is by going through the FydeOS App Store. I think we have to go through that GApps, that OpenG apps install to get Google Play on here, which we definitely are going to do because I would like to see if we can get that working. So we'll configure OpenG apps. Yes, we're going to agree with the EULA that we can totally read without seeing it. And it says this is still an experimental procedure. Unexpected errors may occur and it may cause your Android subsystem to crash. So we'll go ahead and do that. You see we have an option to uninstall it as well if it was giving you problems, so that's nice. But there we go. Install OpenG apps. You can configure installation options. What are those? Default, use custom URL, select local file. I guess we're going with default. All done. Please reboot FydeOS. Sounds good to me. So, I guess if we go into here, let's just open up Android and see if we have like Google Play in here. Google Play Services, Google Play Store, there we go. So we totally have, oh yeah, we even have the shortcut down there. It added it to our taskbar. Now, of course, we do have to sign in with a Google account to use the Google Play Store and the other Google services. That makes total sense. So I'll go ahead and get that going here. And we're in. And yes, it has figured out that we are on a Chromebook. So we're getting some ChromeOS recommendations right here. So things like Zoom, YouTube Music for Chromebook. But you've got, you know, Android apps in here as well. What's on the top charts? Yeah, of course, Roblox, not really surprising. Among Us is still number 4 all these years later. Jeez, okay. Brain Rot Tip Tap Challenge. I don't even want to know what that is. Solitaire. Here is just a nice, simple Solitaire application. Why don't we grab that? And of course, it contains ads. Why does that not surprise me? And then here we go. So we got that launching up. And it, of course, opens it in like a little phone-sized window. Yeah, we can go around in here if we want to. But, you know, the point is you can run Android applications. And I mean, like I said, if you did have problems with this, you would have to probably like uninstall it through that same thing we just went through and then maybe try to reinstall it again. It's not like guaranteed to work. It is still an experimental feature, but it's neat that you can get those Google services working on here. And for this next portion of the video, we're going to be taking a look at tablet mode on this thing to use the stylus a little bit more. Now, I did have a whole section where we installed a couple of Linux applications on here, but because of how long this video already is, I've decided to just cut that because the process is exactly the same as it is on regular ChromeOS, so we've already done that in numerous other videos. But to put this thing into tablet mode, all you have to do is remove the keyboard case from it. And you'll see as it quickly switched into tablet mode there for whatever reason. But right now we're on the desktop. If I were to remove this, you'll see it will change into this tablet-oriented user interface. And so now I can use the stylus and go around and open up stuff, which of course you can use the stylus on the touchscreen with this connected, but now you're just in a more tablet-centric interface that just works better for it. The interesting thing, though, that I find kind of weird is there doesn't appear to be a accelerometer to tell what orientation that you're using the tablet in. When you're in this mode, you have to actually go down here to the settings and tap this rotate screen button to change the screen orientation. And this also does not show up when you have the keyboard cover connected and you're in desktop mode. We'll go ahead and change the orientation because it will automatically adjust when you connect the keyboard cover back to it. So we'll do that. This does take a little bit of finagling there sometimes. You see it will change, you know, to the landscape orientation. But now, if I go down to here, that rotate screen button is gone. You have to go into settings, which I actually have that window opened up here. And you can use this option here to change the degree, you know, the orientation of the screen. Another quick thing worth mentioning is I'm currently signed in to a FydeOS account instead of that local account we were using before, because I discovered that for whatever reason, when you sign into a local account, you don't actually get all of the applications that you would get when you sign into a FydeOS account. Specifically, it does not install this Notes application. There's actually not any default Notes application when you sign in with a local account, so you'd have to download one if you want to take notes with the stylus. But when you sign in with a FydeOS account, you get access to this Notes application. Now, if you've ever used Notion before, this kind of seems similar to that, at least from what I've been able to tell. The interface is somewhat similar. You can even import stuff from Notion if you want to. And then you can make a new page or a new edgeless document. A new page is kind of your standard, you know, title and info. You got a bunch of commands that you can do. So you've also got handwriting recognition if I want to do that and write out stuff that way. And of course, you can just type on your keyboard. You've got emojis, you've got your clipboard and all that good stuff. Also dictation, if you want to, you know, and it also lets you know it will be sent to Google servers to do that. So a nice notification there for privacy. The cooler mode, though, if we go back to all documents, is the edgeless document thing where you can go in here and now you've got a text box you can move around and you can type in here and stuff. If I can actually get to that, there we go. And so I can type out, you know, whatever, and then I can of course get out of this and switch to like a drawing tool and just draw freely on this document. You can change colors, you can make shapes and stuff. I think, yeah, right here I can add a shape and, you know, change the color of that and move it around. Well, actually, can we change the color of that? We should be able to. Yeah, there we go. We gotta do it right from up here. So yeah, a nice notes application that you can only get when you sign in with a FydeOS account, interestingly enough. Of course, we also have some AI stuff. You saw this before. This is pretty much like a GPT thing, so we can go in here and you can ask it questions. You also have Rocks, which is specifically for asking about FydeOS questions, whereas this one here is just a more general AI assistant. And all of that brings us to one more little thing that I want to talk about, which is what on earth are these buttons on the stylus for? Because I was getting really curious about this since I just couldn't figure it out. I mean, you saw earlier, I was trying to hover over the screen and see if these would do like right and left click. I was going into the browser to see if it would go backwards and forwards between web pages, but nothing seemed to do anything. And that's because these buttons don't actually do anything, at least as of right now. So I went ahead and emailed the FydeOS team since, like I said, I was getting really curious and I couldn't figure this out. And I'll put a little bit of this email up on screen to show you what they said. Because apparently what happened is, of course, they originally intended for these buttons to work, but that would require them to work closely with the display vendor to get the key press signals on the stylus to be recognized by the touch panel's proprietary firmware. Now, because they wanted to put a really high quality display in this thing, they went with a top-end vendor that also provides displays to, you know, a bunch of other companies. And I guess, you know, they were more preoccupied with providing support to those clients rather than this little FydeOS company here, which obviously sucks, and it means that, you know, these buttons don't do anything at the moment. But, you know, I guess there's the potential for them to become functional in the future if they're able to, you know, implement that properly and get it working. But yeah, so that's the story with those buttons on the stylus, and that is pretty much going to wrap it up for the Fydetab Duo. I have to say, this is definitely a really cool piece of hardware, and it's been really fun to mess around with it on video. Are there some minor shortcomings? Yes, absolutely. But it's really neat to see an open source hardware project like this, where you're encouraged to do things like install the LTE chip yourself, install other operating systems on it. This is definitely a hobbyist-friendly device. But even if you're not interested in doing any of that, you could think of this like a high-end ChromeOS 2-in-1 that also has the added ability of not needing to be tied to Google so much. But that just has to do with the operating system itself, just like the ability to run Android applications, which is a major advantage that FydeOS has over ChromeOS Flex if you were wanting to install one of those systems on an old computer or even an older Chromebook like we did with the Chromebook Pixel. And I mean, hey, you can't beat free, even if it is free-ish with that whole update situation going on. But yeah, that is pretty much going to wrap it up for this episode. I want to thank Fyde once again for loaning me the Fydetab Duo to mess around with and explore. And if you guys enjoyed this one, definitely be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early, sponsor-free access to my videos before anybody else. But either way, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.